Good evening and welcome to NewsHour, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Aldas Gopalakrishnan. Now, the baiters are back at preaching to India about democracy. Former Twitter boss Jack Dorsey, known for his left-leaning political ideology and accused by many around the world for selective activism, has set the cat amongst the pigeons here in India by accusing the central government of intimidating Twitter with raids and arrests into blocking content. Now, criticizing the government on farm protests particularly was the issue raised by Dorsey, and the opposition latched on to his claim to say that democracy had turned into autocracy in Modi's Bharat. Now, Dorsey, however, didn't offer any specifics to substantiate his claims. Now, Jack Dorsey's selectivism and bias isn't a secret. In August 2018, when Dorsey himself had admitted to his selective left-leaning on a number of occasions, Twitter under his leadership has been called out in the past by the world, even referred to as a propaganda machine. However, the man who's been accused of selectively pushing an agenda and also, in fact, allowing fakery to an extent today finds support from usual suspects here in India. While opposition has latched on to the opportunity, saying that there's been a systematic erosion of free speech and expression as well as civil liberties in the country in the last 9 years under the Modi government. Meanwhile, the centre today fact-checked the ex-Twitter CEO's claims, accusing him of spewing outright lies.
Twitter was misusing its power as a platform to selectively de-amplify and selectively de-platform people both in India and abroad. In India, it was a direct violation of Article 14 and Article 19. So I am deeply disappointed by Jack Dorsey's attempt at lying about what happened.
देखिए, जो कहा गया है वो झूठ और सफेद झूठ है। वर्षों की नींद के बाद जागे जैक डॉर्सी अपने काले कारनामों पर पर्दा डालना चाहते हैं। जब ट्विटर को खरीदा भी गया दूसरे व्यक्ति के द्वारा, तो ट्विटर फाइल्स में खुलासा हुआ कि किस तरह से इस प्लेटफॉर्म का दुरुपयोग किया जाता था, पक्षपात किया जाता था।
ट्विटर के लोग वही थे जो अमेरिकन कांग्रेस में पेश होंगे, ब्रिटिश संसद में पेश होंगे, लेकिन भारत की संसदीय कमेटी में नहीं पेश होंगे। तो ये ना भारत का संविधान उस समय मानते थे, ना भारत का कानून मानते थे।
जो जितना बदनाम करते हैं मोदी जी उतने ताकतवर होते हैं। जब भी मोदी जी कोई भला काम करेंगे, उनका जो क्रिटिसाइज करेगा वो कांग्रेस का और विपक्ष का दोस्त होता है।
Let's now listen to what opposition leaders backing Dorsey's anti-India claims had to say today.
Like to know that why would Jack Dorsey publicly, now that he is no longer the CEO, tell a lie? There's no reason for him to tell a lie. He is not involved with the opposition parties in India.
Jack Dorsey has said is not surprising at all. In the past 9 years, after 2014, there has been a systematic erosion of the freedom of speech and expression and civil liberties in the country.
Autocracy of Modi government has come forward and has been established. The Twitter ex-founder and their ex-CEO, Mr. Jack Dorsey, has said that Modi government and Prime Minister used to ask for accounts of farmers and their farmer organizations to be blocked.
वो ठीक नहीं था। मतलब देश के अंदर अगर कोई किसान आंदोलन को रोकने की अगर कोशिश की गई तो ये तो गलत बात।
ये तो सरासर गलत है। भारत सरकार तो बराबरी कोशिश करता है लोकतंत्र को गला घोंटने का। हम इसको प्रोटेस्ट करते हैं, हम भी प्रोटेस्ट करते हैं।
नहीं, जो अपने लोग जो चलाते थे तो उनके अकाउंट बंद होते थे, और ये जानकारी हुई थी कि भारत सरकार प्रेशर डाल रही है कि ये बंद हो। इस तरह की खबरें चलती थी, क्योंकि जो बच्चे चलाते थे तो उनके अकाउंट बंद होते थे, और जो भी उसको दिखाता था ज्यादा मूवमेंट को, उसके अकाउंट बंद होते थे।
Let's also listen into what American Senator Ted Cruz, who called out Dorsey's hypocrisy in the US in 2020, had to say.
Why did Twitter make the decision to censor the New York Post?
We had a hack materials policy that we...
When was that policy adopted?
In 2018, I believe.
In 2018, go ahead. What was the policy?
So the policy is around limiting the spread of materials that are hacked. We didn't want Twitter to be a distributor for hacked materials. We found that the New York Post, because it showed the direct materials, screenshots of the direct materials, and it was unclear how those were attained, that it fell under this policy. Our team made a fast decision. The enforcement action, however, of blocking URLs, both in tweets and in DM, in direct messages, we believe was incorrect. We recognized an error in this policy, and specifically the enforcement.
That brings me to the legitimate question that we're asking this evening. Is the opposition backing those who are opposed to India, or Bharat Virodhis?
You're watching the News Hour first. Debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Across to our guest. Joining us with us is Sanju Verma, national spokesperson of the BJP. Dr. Anand Ranganathan is an author. Joining us on the broadcast also with us is Sanjay Jha, author. Dr. Shantanu Sen is member of parliament and national spokesperson of the TMC. Zeba Yasmeen is national spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us this evening. Let me begin with Sanjay Jha. Sanjay Jha, you heard it yourself. You heard the Union Minister. Rajiv Chandrasekhar is saying that Mr. Jack Dorsey is lying. He is not being accurate, he's not being truthful when he talks about what has happened. He says that here is a company that refused to comply with the law of the land here in India, and whatever happened was on the basis of that. You know, specific claims of his have also been countered by others. I'm going to get into that, but your first and primary response to what Rajiv Chandrasekhar has said today.
Yeah, Madhav, this is an important debate. Let me make my points very succinctly. Number 1, and this is important, the biggest Deshdrohi, the Tukre gang of India is the Bharatiya Janata Party. They are the ones who called our farmers as Khalistanis, as terrorists. And guess what? At the end of it all, Narendra Modi comes with folded hands and says, "Mujhe maaf kar dijiye," and withdrew the farm laws. Can you have a better manifestation of the fraud and the hypocrisy of the BJP? Number 1. Number 2, by the way, it's not just Jack Dorsey. Why aren't we talking about what Elon Musk has said, the current owner of Twitter? He said, I don't want my Twitter employees to go to jail in India because freedom of speech in India is a very controversial subject. Point number 3, who, by the way, went surreptitiously and arrested a girl, a 22-year-old girl in Bangalore called Disha Ravi, accusing her of a toolkit, which is the favorite term of these lunatic right-wing fringe. Many of them, of course, are now mainstream in political parties, and then have had egg on their face. Number 4, let me quote to you Facebook. Why are we looking at just Twitter? Let's quote Facebook. Madhav, you'll be aware of this lady Ankhi Das, who was the head of public policy, who was accused of allowing hate speeches to flourish. Before she resigned, it is on record that she told the Facebook employees, and I quote her, and this is the quote, "Punishing violations by politicians from Mr. Modi's party would damage the company's business prospects in the country." Right. This is an open admission by Meta or Facebook that the BJP's political vendetta and its
You've made 4 points, sir. Let's get in the other side. You made 4 points. You made 4 points. No, 1 second. You made 4 points.
Can you
yes, Sanjay Jha, you have made 4 points. You have spoken. Now let's listen to the other side as well, because there's some very serious charges here. There are some very serious charges being made by Sanjay Jha, and Sanju Verma, he claims that it's not just Mr. Dorsey, but there's a similar fears and apprehensions that have been aired by Elon Musk in the past. He also says that it's not just about Twitter, but other social media platforms also this government has tried to crack down upon. These are his questions. Please respond to these 2 points at least.
You know, Madhav, I thought this is going to be a sane debate, but unfortunately Sanjay Jha started by using extremely abusive language. So let me show him the mirror, because आप जिस जुबान में बात करोगे, आपको उसी जुबान में जवाब मिलेगा. Sanjay Jha said, you know, these right-wing lunatic trolls. Sanjay Jha, when you come here and wax eloquent about free speech, earlier I used to be amused. These days I pity you. I don't even feel amused any longer, because look at the sheer hypocrisy. The party for which you backed 24/7 every evening fails to even recognize your existence. यहाँ बैठकर इसीलिए थोड़ी अपनी दूरदशा पर गौर फरमाइए, अपनी दूरदशा पर गौर फरमाइए, मोदी सरकार को भाषण मत दीजिए. I did not interrupt him, Madhav. I refuse to
Okay, yes, we'll go one by one. Mr. Jha, please. We have other panelists also.
Cheap personal jibes.
Okay, so you also took some jibes. It's okay. Now I'm just going to request everyone. Let's not make this personal, please. Requesting all of you. Now, Sanju, please answer the questions that I posed, please.
Yes. Now that I'm done with showing Sanjay Jha his rightful place, which is a puny little place on this entire panel, let me come to the point. And the point is this, Madhav. There are two issues here, and now I don't want to be heckled. Mr. Jha, you can laugh all you want, but let me make some important points.
Right, madam. I can laugh.
Yes, let me make some points. Madhav, either you have this man keep quiet.
Okay. Sanjay, please. Let her make her point.
Thank you, Mr. Jha. Hold your horses. Mr. Jha, please. Thank you very much. Now, Madhav, the issue is twofold. A, was the Modi government trying to clamp down on free speech? B, was it a clampdown on non-compliance? So my limited point is this. First and foremost, who is Jack Dorsey? Madhav, I have to say this. You know, this is a channel which is watched by millions, so I will not say what somebody on Twitter said that he's a but I have to tell you what Jack Dorsey's former partner and the co-founder of Twitter has to say about Dorsey. A man called Evan Williams. He said in Silicon Valley, Jack Dorsey is known as a damaged good. And I will tell you why. This is the same Jack Dorsey who admitted in 2018 in an interview to CNN that he deplatformed Alex Jones, a very famous host and commentator, because of his right-wing views.
Right.
This is the same Jack Dorsey. Give me 30 seconds. This is the same Jack Dorsey under whose leadership and whose team member Vijay Gadde actually filtered and blacklisted the views of Jay Bhattacharya, a famous medical expert at Stanford University, because his views on COVID vaccine did not match the views of Jack Dorsey, Vijay Gadde and team what have you.
Right.
This is the same Jack Dorsey who showed that Ladakh and Jammu and Kashmir are not a part of India and Leh is a part of China. This is the same Jack Dorsey who took away the blue badge of the sitting vice president then, Mr. Venkaiah Naidu. This is the same Jack Dorsey who had the audacity to actually block for more than an hour the Twitter account of the then IT minister, Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad. This is the same Jack Dorsey who actually blacklisted one of America's famous radio show hosts, Dan Bongino. And this is the same Jack Dorsey who today heads a company called Block. And I will tell this to Mr. Dorsey, you are not the head of Block, but you are a blockhead. And I'll tell you one more thing.
Sanju Verma.
Point in 20 seconds.
For 10 seconds. Quickly make your point, please. The others also on the panel, please.
Yeah, 20 seconds. 20 seconds.
You know, there has to be some limit to this also, please.
Yes. I just want to say this, that in 2001, we had the IT Act which came about thanks to the Congress. In 2018 and 21, Madhav, all we did was to strengthen the institutional mechanism for OTT platforms and digital media.
Let's get a response now. Okay, you made your point now. I want to bring in Zeba Yasmeen on this. Sanjay Jha's hand is also going up, but Sanjay, please be a little patient. I'm going to come back to both of you in a bit. I'm going to bring in Zeba Yasmeen. Zeba Yasmeen, the problem here is this today. Here is a government that says, we were just asking this platform to comply with the laws of the land. They took 2 years to comply to that. And then they're crying victim, they're crying horse. Clearly, there are, a lot of implications of this platform not accepting the sovereignty of Indian law. And as an Indian today, I'm asking you this. Isn't this a very serious problem? If foreign companies come in and expect that they can do whatever they want, isn't that a very serious problem that this particular platform was posing? And in fact, if you recollect, it is an opposition-ruled chairman of a parliamentary panel that even summoned Twitter.
No, I completely agree with you. But the problem here is, if you make the Indian law that nobody can speak against the government, then it is not appreciable. What am I good for? Nothing. Opposition. What will opposition do? What will media do? If nobody is allowed to speak against government.
Zeba Yasmeen, that's not my question. Please,
see,
that's not my question.
This is what happened with the social media platforms.
Okay. Make your point. Complete your point.
Because Sanju Verma here, she said कि मैं किसी की भाषण सुनने नहीं आई हूँ. देखिए संजू वर्मा जी ने कहा मैं किसी का भाषण सुनने नहीं आई हूं और 30 सेकेंड्स का स्टेटमेंट 3 मिनट में बोल रही हैं, तो नोबडी इज हियर टू लिसन हर भाषण ऑल्सो. एंड द अदर थिंग, उन्होंने किसी को शोइंग द प्लेस. नाउ जनता हैज started showing your place, right place. Recently Karnataka did. That is why you so being so aggressive on the debate. So you should be prepared now, because people are not now aware and they will show you your right place to you.
Okay. Let him make a point.
Your right
Sanju, please. Let him make a point. I haven't even gone to Dr. Ranganathan yet. Please, let them at least make the opening comments. Yeah, no personal jibes. Once again, request to all panelists. There's no point in making personal jibes. Let's have a civilized debate, please. My request to all of you. Let's have a civilized debate. No personal attacks. Zeba Yasmeen. Yes, carry on, Ms. Yasmeen.
Yeah, I was just saying that people, because for the last so many years we have seen that on social media platform, personally when I tweeted something against the government, my tweet had been deleted. And when we get told, we get abused by the trollers and we report the ID, it never gets reported.
Ma'am, one second. You are leveling two charges here. You are saying when you tweet against the government, that tweet gets deleted. When has this happened? Did you report it to the police?
Yeah, many times it happened, and when we get abused.
Did you report it to any authority, ma'am? What kind of, I mean, let's be serious here. You are making a very serious charge. You are saying that your tweets were deleted by Twitter.
Matters.
Now this is this is a serious
one tweet,
point. Did you report it to authorities? If not, why?
Yes, our IT get. Listen, just for a tweet, we don't go to file an FIR. But yes, our ID gets blocked for 3 days, 5 days. Because they say that we have not followed the norms. But we just want to know what are the norms of Twitter in India.
Ma'am, this is the exact point that has been made by Rajiv Chandrasekhar. He says there was selective de-amplification and de-platforming happening. That is his allegation. Now, if you have certain kind of evidence to prove that, tell us which are the opposition leaders who were de-platformed or de-amplified. Is there substantial evidence to back that claim? Because let's not talk in the air now that this happened to one tweet with me. Take us through the specifics, either your party leaders or the opposition leaders who this happened to. Not just coming out to say that the platform was being pressurized and that no action was taken. Let's talk specifics here, please.
And it is like, it's been seen, I mean, recently in UP, nobody can speak. One journalist, he asked a question to Smriti Irani. He has been sacked from his job.
Ma'am, we are discussing
because she
Twitter
complained
here.
against him.
We are discussing Twitter here.
This is what the freedom of speech and freedom of...
I'm not commenting yes or no.
We are discussing the problem
I'm not saying that's good or bad.
We can speak up.
Ms. Yasmeen,
whether
you may have legitimate concerns.
Live, nobody is allowed to question BJP.
Ma'am, you may have legitimate concerns in the offline space. I'm not even going to come and challenge that. I am asking you specifics about Twitter. If you're coming out today on a national platform and saying that your tweets are deleted, I am asking you, did you file a complaint? You said nobody files a complaint on a tweet. Which are the other opposition leaders who have been targeted? There has to be some kind of basis of making these allegations. They can't be all out there in hot air.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with that FIR has not been lodged, but yes, we do face problem that when we tweet 2 or 3 times continuously against government, we get warnings by Twitter or by Facebook that we have not followed the norms. So as an opposition, we want to know what are the norms. Are we supposed to speak in favor of government, or we are not expected to write anything?
I think that those norms and parameters are very well known. They're in the public domain. Anything that incites violence, anything that is inaccurate or defamatory, there are redressal mechanisms where people can complain against a tweet, and I think it's just a question of understanding those mechanisms. At the moment, let me quickly go across to Dr. Anand Raghunathan. Dr. Anand Raghunathan, there are serious questions that are being raised by opposition also, and opposition says that we have been talking about these platforms being targeted by various agencies. Maybe perhaps Mr. Dorsey was not right in saying that employees' houses were raided. Maybe he was being a little liberal with the truth. But the fact is that the police did visit certain establishments, and that is being seen by opposition as some kind of a coercive measure.
Good evening, Madhav, and good evening to my fellow panelists. Look, as far as you're saying that the opposition has raised some very serious question, I agree. And as for Ms. Yasmeen, the Samajwadi Party spokesperson, saying that whenever she tweets something against the government, her tweet gets deleted. Can I please ask her to give me the content of her tweet that has been deleted? I promise I will tweet it. Ms. Yasmeen, what was the content of your tweet that was deleted? Do you know?
I never said that every time I tweet. It happened sometime then when I tweeted, and as an educational background, as I'm having a good educational background, I follow my language etiquette as well. I am very good with content. I know my limits. I never cross my limit,
what was
and
the
I'm
content of the tweet that was
very
deleted?
decent with my language.
What was the content?
It was always against the policy of the government. I have
What
never
was it?
used any
I will
bad
tweet
language.
it. I will tweet the exact content. Tell me. You must remember it. Tell me. I'll tweet it right now.
Okay, I'll take your mail ID. I'll forward it to you. It is always against. No, it is always against the norms of the government. It has never had any bad content.
Madhav, can I now please get back? Look, the recent explosive Twitter files expose has gone on to prove that Jack Dorsey was a criminal running a criminal enterprise, and that in a just world, he and his ragtag group of chauthi fail leftists should have been behind bars for trying to change regimes, browbeat governments, ban citizens, and stifle freedom of speech. This guy is a child of Goebbels, who said the first rule of propaganda is accuse the others of what you are guilty of. A social media platform, Madhav, cannot censor, ban, adjudicate, publish, alter, or editorialize. I have no issues when it remains a platform. That is, does not control what trains come and go. But that was not the case, was it? Twitter under Jack, as we have come to learn, was heavily censoring what it pleased, banning what it didn't like, and as Ms. Sanju Verma told, examples of COVID, serious scientific discussions were being banned by this jackass. And these are all subjective decisions based on ideology and political preferences. A US government-funded organization forwarded to Twitter in 2021, Madhav, the handle of the current Information Commissioner of India, a man who famously exposed Arundhati Roy's 2002 lies. He subsequently complained, didn't he, that he was censored and shadow banned. Look, as a free speech absolutist, I am fundamentally against governments trying to stifle this free speech of a citizen either through force or by coercion or by threat or by throwing a rule book at a social media company, given that the rules are draconian and against free speech to begin with. And the fact is that all governments, Congress or the BJP, have ordered blocking of Twitter accounts, and more often than not, it is a subjective decision. Back in the UPA days, remember how hundreds of right-wing accounts were blocked by the Congress, including those of journalist Shiv Arur and Kanchan Gupta. But then that was during the heydays of press freedom and tolerance and democracy, isn't it? The way I see it, Madhav, any social media platform operating in India should have just one rule, quote, anything you post here is subject to Indian laws and can be acted upon never by us, but by Indian courts, unquote. Anything more is an instrument of control and prone to bias. It is that simple. Look, our constitution doesn't guarantee absolute freedom of expression. It has spawned laws that are draconian and subjective and tailor-made for misuse. But in the scenario that a platform doesn't conform to absolute freedom of expression, and Twitter does not, never did, and does not still, the monopoly of bias in a democracy must rest with the constitution, not the platform. I'd much rather a judge ban me than a platform. Twitter cannot decide or editorialize. It should just be a platform. In fact, just 20 seconds, Madhav, all these social media companies were platforms initially when they sucked in consumers. Once they trapped consumers, they kept on changing and adding terms and rules. And now they are a law unto themselves.
Okay. Number of points being made over there. Let me also bring in Suman C. Raman, who's just joining us on the debate. Mr. Suman C. Raman, there are a number of points being made over here by Dr. Anand Raghunathan. I want to just read out one portion and also ask you at least one of the questions that was raised by Dr. Anand Raghunathan. And this is, I'm just quoting two sentences of what Jack Dorsey said. This is in 14 January 2021. I'm reading out from a news copy where after the ban on US President Donald Trump, he says, he admits that Twitter has failed on its part to ensure the platform is a place for healthy conversations. While there are clear and obvious exceptions, I feel a ban is a failure of ours ultimately to promote healthy conversation and a time for us to reflect on our operations and the environment around us. Now, the question is that this is an admission by Mr. Dorsey himself. There are questions that have been raised by Dr. Anand Raghunathan about how bans were initiated during previous regimes. So what are we talking about? The same opposition which is today raising questions of the Modi government being a super censor or what have you, whatever may be the allegation, is equally guilty of doing the same in the year 2012. Dr.
Jack Dorsey, Madhav, Jack Dorsey may be a motivated person, he may be a biased person, and he may be doing this to destabilize the country. So therefore, we need a detailed inquiry into this matter, preferably a court-monitored inquiry to find out if Jack Dorsey is telling a lie and what his motivation is. Who are the dark forces who are behind Jack Dorsey's such statements? So that needs to be exposed, right? I mean, after all, if it's a conspiracy to destabilize the country, should it not be exposed? So I think that's point number one. So I'm sure that the BJP spokespersons and others on the show will all agree that a court-monitored inquiry is required into this matter to find out if Jack Dorsey is telling the truth, and if he's not telling the truth, who is instigating him to say such lies to slander our government. That is point number one. Point number two, I presume that the government of India will be filing a defamation case against Mr. Dorsey and preferably for a few $100 million for having slandered the government. I mean, this is completely unacceptable. How can he say such outrageous things and get away with it? So I'm sure that these two actions will be taken, Madhav, and once these two actions are taken, then we will know that the government is in the right. And this is not, a question of the opposition are all simply making up stories and Jack Dorsey is a bad, wicked man who's biased. But if they don't do these two things, then I'm afraid that the jury will still be out on this matter, whether Jack Dorsey, after having exited from Twitter and having no axe to grind, would suddenly come up with this story. And not even, if this question was not even related to India.
Yes.
It was a generic question about how Twitter responded to pressures from various governments. In fact, he mentioned Turkey as well.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't know how flattering it is to be mentioned in the same breath along with Turkey.
Okay.
But anyway, the point really is two actions the government needs to take. One, a court monitoring.
All right, you made those points.
And a second,
you made those tongue-in-cheek comments, sir. You have made your point.
No, not tongue-in-cheek. Why do you say tongue-in-cheek?
Because there's a smile on your face. There's a smile on your face while you're making those comments. Even you couldn't keep a straight face. That was the extent to which you stretched the arguments. But nevertheless, that's acceptable. That's acceptable as a tool for debate. But let me get in a response from the BJP because the questions are of the BJP. Dr. Raghunathan, I'm coming to you. Yes, Sanju Verma.
Okay. Madhav, I think you called out the bluff of Mr. Sumant Raman and you said he made those tongue-in-cheek comments. Now, I have this to say in good humor to Mr. Sumant Raman. I, in good faith, believe when Rajiv Chandrasekhar tweeted and said that Twitter under Dorsey and his team were in repeated and continuous violations of Indian law. As a matter of fact, they were in non-compliance with law repeatedly from 2020 to 2022, and it was only in June 2022 when they finally complied. No one went to jail, nor was Twitter shut down. Dorsey's Twitter regime had a problem accepting the sovereignty of Indian law. And Mr. Rajiv Chandrasekhar has written a lot of other things. Mr. Sumant Raman, if you don't believe Rajiv Chandrasekhar, but if you believe Jack Dorsey, why don't you file a case against Mr. Chandrasekhar? Why don't you file a case against Mr. Chandrasekhar, since you as an Indian citizen have a problem accepting what the IT minister of the current government is saying? You should be the one who should be taking up cudgels against Mr. Chandrasekhar by following the due process of law. Now please keep quiet. It is not your turn to sulk and whine. You have the bad habit of talking non-stop. Please keep quiet. I did not heckle you. I will simply say this, Madhav. Forget the tongue-in-cheek comments. The Modi government, I think the important thing which we should not miss out on in this vital debate is that in 2021, we did two very important things. We actually redefined the word intermediary. We said that intermediary is anyone who facilitates business or communication on the internet it could be a cyber cafe, it could be an OTT platform, it could be a cyber club, it could be any form of digital media. And we also made amendments to Section 79 of the IT Act, which was originally brought into vogue in 2001, by saying that not only the OTT provider or the social media provider, but even the intermediary will be responsible for the content.
Okay.
If the content is found defamatory, intimidatory, against the national interest, prejudicial to child safety, so on and so forth. So I just want to ask Mr. Sumant C. Raman, if the government of the day, the Modi government, is making the internet a safer place, a place which can be trusted by all stakeholders, a place which is more accountable, a place which is more transparent, rather than believing the Modi government as much as you hate it, rather than believing Rajiv Chandrasekhar as much as you may dislike him, why is it that you believe as in Jack Dorsey?
I am not believing Jack Dorsey at all. I'm saying I don't know who's right. Why not you order an investigation? That's all I'm saying.
Why don't you please take up projects with Mr. Chandrasekhar?
And why
Please file a case in the court.
Why not?
Please file a case in the court against Mr. Chandrasekhar, since you do not believe him.
This man, according to you,
do you think you can make tongue-in-cheek comments?
Slandering the government.
And I will allow you to get away with it, Mr. Sumant C. Raman.
Okay. Sumant C. Raman, serious question now. One second.
The Indian government on
Sir, you made your point now. You've made your point. You've poked your fun. Now let others come in. And let me ask you a very serious question. Dr. Anand, just one simple question. Today you have Kapil Sibal, who's taking a very moral high ground and saying that the government has reason to hide things. Maybe so. And Mr. Jack Dorsey doesn't, because he's not an interesting party. But interestingly, this is the same person under whose regime 66A was brought in. And we all know what the Supreme Court did to 66A, sir.
No, absolutely, Madhav. And for Kapil Sibal to say that is not something out of the ordinary. He was shaped out of hypocrisy, pure hypocrisy. But can I please, first of all, compliment my good friend Dr. Sumant Raman, because being sarcastic is half the debate won. In fact, when I gave him coffee once, he said, Anand, this coffee is so good, it tastes like dishwater. And after that, I never made coffee for him. But can he please explain 2 points here? Number one, I talked only of facts, and the facts is that the expose of Twitter files that went on for more than 3 weeks ruthlessly exposed the criminality of Jack Dorsey. How come Dr. Sumant Raman runs out of arguments when it comes to the Twitter files expose of this criminal? He is not even talked about it. Not once. And number 2, is it not a fact? How come he never talks about that Congress, UPA, banned hundreds of Twitter accounts that were against that government? So these 2 facts completely are, Dr. Sumant Raman, even though I love his sarcasm, are oblivious to these 2 facts.
Let me state that the Congress party and the UPA government were no better than the present government in any form as far as Twitter was concerned. I am not justifying that. And I'm not fighting for Jack Dorsey. I'm only saying that I'm not willing to blindly swallow the government line. I don't know who's telling the truth. Why not we have an inquiry and find out?
You are not blindly following this government's line, but you used to blindly follow the previous government's line.
Not at all. I have never followed blindly any government's line. Period.
Okay. Let me bring in Sanjay Jha also. Many hands going up. Sanjay Jha, 2 simple questions. You saw what Ravi Shankar Prasad said. You said that here is a person, or here is a company that will not go to the Indian Parliament when summoned. And in fact, the Parliamentary Committee of, I think it was Data Privacy led by Shashi Tharoor, which had summoned Twitter last year. But in fact, also says that in the same vein, he will appear before the US Parliament, the UK Parliament, and several other legislative bodies globally. So contempt for the Indian Parliament. And secondly, the entire allegation is also about contempt towards Indian law. An Indian request to take down posts which could potentially, even as the IT minister refers to as user harm or cause a law and order situation, to put it in more simple terms, even those posts very often were not taken down. Now, isn't that a very serious problem, sir?
Madhav, let me tell you that the BJP is the last party on the planet to try and give any grand lectures on law. I remember Dainik Bhaskar, when it exposed all the dead bodies flowing down the Ganga River affected by the coronavirus.
That is fake news.
They raided Dainik Bhaskar. It's on record. Everyone knows that. So I think
Madhav,
the
is
truth
this
of
the
the
topic
matter
of the
is...
debate? Why does
Are we discussing, sir, my point is, Sanjay Jha, may I request you to limit, let's discuss Twitter. I'm asking you a specific question related to the regulatory framework for social media platforms. And that's where Twitter has had a legal problem. Now, please answer the specific question that I'm asking you. I have no problem. You may say that the government is being autocratic. You may say that the government cracks down on media. Whatever happens offline, I'm not getting into that. I'm getting into the specific question of the implications of inflammatory posts on social media.
Let him
answer the question. I'm coming to both of you. Let him answer the question.
Deep breath. Yeah, chill. Relax for a minute. So simple answer to you, Madhav, is this. Is the Narendra Modi government so impotent? It has become so incompetent, inefficient, ineffective that it can't implement the laws of the land on a social media company operating in India. I mean, for example, today, no entity in our country can get away by violating the law.
Okay.
Clearly, Mr. Modi's government is hamstrung and doesn't have a case.
Okay, why didn't you crack down upon them? I think that's the question coming from Sanjay Jha. If they were so blatantly in violation of the law for over 2 years, 2020 to 2022, why didn't you just put them in jail? I think that's the question Sanjay Jha is asking. Sanju Verma.
And who calls media?
Yeah, you asked the question now, please. Now let her respond. I've asked her the question. Let her respond, please. No interruptions.
But who called media prostitute?
Sir, please, why are we diverting the issue? Please, I request you. Let us stick to the subject at hand. My simple, humble request to you, please.
Okay.
Sanju Verma.
Thank you, Madhav. And now, I will quote Mr. Jha.
But let her answer the question, Madhav. Don't let her get away with another
Madhav, can you please ask this man to keep quiet? I did not tackle him. This is unfair.
Yes, Sanju Verma. Yes, Sanju Verma.
Now, Mr. Jha, to quote you, the Narendra Modi government is so impotent. The Narendra Modi government is so incompetent. The Narendra Modi government is so useless. The Narendra Modi government is so undemocratic that despite all that, 23 crore Indians voted en masse for Narendra Modi, giving him a majority with a massive 303, and your Pappu reduced to a measly 52 seats.
Madhav, this is
your intelligent Pappu reduced to a measly 52 seats.
Words of times now.
No, it's about cracking down.
It is so incompetent that your Pappu was reduced to a measly 52 seats in 2019.
Okay.
How do you like that, Mr.
Okay, no, that's a separate issue. Sanju Verma, we are not even talking about electoral popularity. I'm going to bring in Dr. Ranganathan because he's showing a tweet of Sanjay Jha where he says Sanjay Jha will be exposed. I want to bring in, I think that's what he's trying to say. If I can read his lips. Yes, Dr. Anand Ranganathan.
I hope I'm not interrupted.
Yes.
I hope I'm not interrupted.
Okay,
Sanjay,
let's not have interruptions.
Please.
My request to everyone. Yeah, make your point quickly, please.
Pull out any tweet. जरा ये बता दो कि नरेंद्र मोदी न्यूज
सर आपने एक सवाल पूछा, आप जवाब सुन लीजिए प्लीज संजय झा जी. आपको सवाल पूछने का पूरा अधिकार है, पर आपको जवाब सुनने का भी पेशेंस होना चाहिए ना. It's a two-way street. Yes. Now Sanju Verma, let Dr. Ranganathan speak, please. We are out of time on this debate. I'm just allowing Dr. Ranganathan because he wants to respond. Quick response.
दिखाओ रंगनाथन साहब, दिखाओ tweet.
Madhav, I can't. This is
Sanjay Jha, I'm requesting 30 seconds of indulgence. Let him make his point. Yes.
संजय झा कांप काहे रहे हो, अभी रुक जाओ. हाँ, Madhav, the problem is that अरे Madhav, this is Madhav, is your fader not working?
The more we go ahead, sometimes the more we go around in circles, unfortunately.
Is your fader,
Dr. Ranganathan, please just carry on. Just make your point quickly, please. We're out of time on this debate. My request, please go on.
Okay, that people might forget Sanjay Jha, but internet never forgets Sanjay Jha. This is his tweet on section 56. Let me read it out loud. The same Sanjay Jha. It says, we need laws and social media regulation, evolutionary process on section 66A. Shame on you, Mr. Sanjay Jha. Now you might have deleted this tweet. Please apologize to the nation.
Let me answer that now.
Yes.
Since Ranganathan has produced it, let me answer Ranganathan. You know why?
Please answer. Please answer. Please answer.
I will tell you why.
First, do you own this tweet or do you disown it? Do you own this tweet or do you disown it? Do you own this tweet? Do you own this tweet? नहीं पहले.
Can I answer from my own tweet?
First, tell me, do you own this tweet?
No, he said disown नहीं कर रहा हूँ. Let's proceed now. He said disown नहीं कर रहा हूँ. He's not disowning. Yes. Now we are explanation, Dr. Jha.
because I have
Please
been
continue.
Congress party official spokesperson, let me give you the answer. In information technology, internet laws have all been through a process of trial and error and evolution. Section
Internet
66A was brought at a time when the BJP and many of its people were spreading fake news, especially with regards to Northeast students in Karnataka. We were all aware of that. So end of day,
Okay,
the law was
completely out
changed
of
by the
time.
courts.
Completely
That's
out of
about it.
time.
But
You know, the BJP might very well respond to you saying कि आप करे तो trial, हम करे तो error. But on that note, let me just leave this debate here. Thanks so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. Sanju Verma as well as Dr. Anand Ragnathan, Suman C. Raman as well as Sanjay Jha, and of course, spokesperson of Samajwadi Party, Zeba Yasmeen. Thank you so much for joining us on this very engaging debate this evening.